I'm Chief Cheryl Victorian. This is Waco PD on the beat. Whether it's crime or just getting to know the Waco Police Department, we're here to talk about things that matter most to you.
Hello, Waco, and welcome to Waco PD on the beat. I am Officer AJ Smith, your Crime Stoppers Coordinator for all of McLennan County.
That's right, and I'm Sierra Shipley, the Public Information Officer for the Waco Police Department. And we are here on this episode to bring on one of our detectives to talk a little bit about his life outside the department. We have Detective Paul Hacker here with us. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. And so before we get into the excitement your life is outside of, police work, talk a bit about your journey here at Waco PD. When did you get started and kind of how did you get to the place you are now?
In 2000, I applied for several agencies across the state of Texas. I was in tour of duty for the United States Army. And since I was a military police officer, I kind of felt comfortable working in the career field of law enforcement. So Waco was like the first kind of family atmosphere, kind of a team unit. So I really fell in love with Waco. And they're the first ones who said, hey, you want a position? I said, sure, let's do it.
That easy.
That easy. Well, of course, I had to go through a testing process. And the competition there was like 150 some odd people.
Wow.
But it was fun. And I've enjoyed it ever since.
Very good. And so what department do you work in now at the
Okay. Yes. Well, I was on midnights for about 4.5 years, and then I tested for SWAT, and I was with SWAT for quite a while. And then I tested for detectives, CID and SS. And I've been there ever since. I enjoy it. I like the camaraderie involved in it, and everybody's got a little mission goal that's kind of the same. So it fits right up. It's almost like the military. It fits right up there in that little alley.
I just feel like it's a huge missed opportunity with your last name that you're not in like the computer forensics unit, Yeah,
I tell people that all the time. I just say, hey, hacker, I'm blessed with that name, hey, computer hacker. Sometimes on phone calls, what's your last name? I'll say computer hacker. Okay, but.
That's good.
Yes.
Well, so why did you, want to work for law enforcement in the first place? What kind of drew you to that?
I think it was when I joined the military. A friend of mine was a airborne ranger, infantry ranger, and Desert Storm, Desert Shield was about to start in the 90s. And he he came back and gave me a pitch when he was on leave, and I said, you know what, I want to become an airborne ranger too. Boom! I was happy. I was excited. Come to find out, I got to MEPS, and this suave, I guess recruiter with a little bit of swagger convinced me with his pitch to become a military police officer. At first I frowned on it, but then he showed me the videos, and of course he said, "Here, $1,500. You got it. Let's go." In the 1980s, that was a decent amount of money. Okay, so in the late 80s. But anyways, I would say the recruiter at MEPS convinced me to go from airborne infantry to law enforcement, military police. And once I started working in military police, I fell in love with it. Oh, and then, awesome. After 9 years, it was long, a lot of world traveling, a lot of deployments, and there you go.
Very good.
He's the one who really kind of got me hooked on it. I don't know who he is.
just that one guy at MEPS.
That's perfect.
Altered the course of your future.
That's exactly right.
Well, I'm sure in your time as a law enforcement officer, you've learned the importance of disconnecting from work. It's probably hard at some times, is it not?
Yes, it's difficult because, I guess the best way I've talked to people about it who had interest in becoming a police officer or peace officer in the state of Texas is that you got to have a little bit of tolerance, understanding the human behavior, and sometimes understanding why people do the things they do. And if you can understand that and have a little bit of compassion and show some tolerance, this job's for you. If you go in, and so because you can really become cynical if you really tie yourself real tight to the law enforcement itself, the field, you can become very cynical and judgmental, and so to alleviate that, you have a little coping mechanism. That's not me making those siren sounds, but I do humanity. I dabble into humanities. So I'm in a rock band that we created in 2008-9, we don't play as much anymore. But at one time, we were touring 6th Street in Austin and up there at the Dallas and Fort Worth area.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of alternative rock. It's fun, but I dabble in humanities. So at maybe 4 or 5 years after that, I said, you know what? I read an article about how they filmed Hawaii Five-0 using this TV series. They filmed it using an iPhone. So I pondered again. I said, let me make a short film. So I got together with my son-in-law, and we let's make it a medieval fantasy. So we purchased some prosthetics. We built our own uniforms through Hobby Lobby and crafted some stuff, and and then we shot the film in 45 minutes, hour-long film, which without any commercials. So with commercials, it'd be an hour and a half, almost the size of a movie, and realized it was very difficult, and only a few eyes have seen it. It's not published because we lack the sound quality to make it a good film, but. And then we get to the point where, I'm sorry if I'm going too long, but we get to a point now where 3 years ago, I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book for my grandkids.
Do you hate crime? Do you like money? Then call Crime Stoppers and help us arrest bad guys. By providing information that leads to an arrest or solves a felony case, you can earn up to $2,000. Call 254-753-HELP, which is 4357 for those of you that don't remember the good old days of texting. And additionally, you can now call Star Tips, which is way easier to remember. If you call Star Tips, it'll connect you to somebody in the area, and then when you hang up, it'll send you a text message where you can add additional information as you get it. Help us solve crime and make up to $2,000 in the process.
That's right. By sending in a tip, it's completely anonymous, and if it leads to an arrest, you could earn up to $2,000 in a reward. And just to remind you all, tipping ain't snitching.
Heck yeah.
From rock band to filming to writing, you got a creative side to you.
Yeah, yes, and I think it's important to have it. It helps you cope with the everyday stressors. And they always say, and I've read a few books in psychology when I went to school, that they talked about the importance of humanities to people in general. They don't make films just because they make films. They make films because it helps people deal with the daily stressors of having to live together. And then so I mean, that's not the main reason why I do it, but I find it fun and entertaining. But I started writing a book for the grandkids. Wasn't taking it really serious at the beginning, and it's okay. And then I fell in love with it, and I've discovered creative writing, which was a hard transition from professional writing.
I was going to say, from police writing to creative writing, very different.
Yes, and in the first manuscript, you can see the glaring, like, okay, the knife was sitting on the floor, and from the front door, it was 6 feet from the floor.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So they looked at it like, okay. So it was a tough transition, but in the end, I enjoyed it. And then fellow officers and family and friends said, "Put me in the book." I said, "All right." "Put me in the book." "All right." So now I got 50-some characters in the book.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, and the series is going. I'm on the 4th book, and then I will be completed with the series, and I will probably write a murder mystery.
Oh,
with a little bit of sci-fi.
Yeah.
With a little bit of sci-fi in it.
Right. So you just released your 3rd book, is that correct? And then you're writing your 4th one right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the book called?
The Gathering, and the Gathering, and then you have book 1, The Gathering: Quest for the Steel. Book 2 is Gathering: The Hoggernaut Wars. Hoggernaut's a created creature, but and book 3 is the Gathering: The Knights of Salvation, and book 4 is to be announced. But so book 1 is I call it The Gathering because it seems like every time something happens in the world, whether good, bad, or indifferent, whatever decisions are made in the world, it usually takes a gathering. And so I sometimes I have a little bit of a moral messaging in the books and a little bit of spirituality. My last book review I just received a couple of days ago, actually, on book 3. got the full-blown 4 out of 4 stars, and it says that
Wonderful.
yeah, and they say it's something spiritual. I'm like, okay, I don't know if it's that, but thanks anyways.
Nice.
So it just keeps going, and I'm in love with it right now until something happens where maybe you guys might say, hey, let's try this. I'll say, okay, let's go do that.
That's good. Just kind of bouncing, from thing to thing. And so, you said you kind of wrote these books for your grandkids. How many grandkids do you have?
I have about 5 grandkids.
Okay.
5 grandkids.
Okay. And so these books, are they, because they're chapter books, right? Mm-hmm. And so are they old enough to read?
Not
the chapter
yet.
Books?
not yet, but they will, because I think it's not for them to read like, hey, I wrote this book, here you go. It's when 2090, when the world's changed and we've moved and migrated to the Mars, and then we have civilizations living on the moon. And,
Sure, yeah.
Okay, well, speculating. But when that happens, that book, they can pick it up and say, hey, your grandfather, great-great-grandfather wrote this book, and your grandmother's in it. And so
That's awesome.
So same thing with rock music. We have 2 albums.
Okay.
And I'm not saying we're great, but we're not horrible. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So do you like playing music better, filming, or writing?
That's tough. You know what? It all depends. It depends if you're in the rock band with me, you're making a movie with me. If you call me up and say, hey, what do you think of this idea? I'll say, let's shoot it. If you call me up and say, hey, I got a gig over at 6th Street in Austin, okay, we'll do it. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't. I don't have a favorite necessarily, but interesting note that each book has one of our songs in it.
Okay.
Like the lyrics from it, or okay.
Okay. So you're kind of like intertwining the different.
Matter of fact,
that's awesome.
The protagonist in the book, the good guy, the main character, he meets these minstrels, and the name is similar to our name in the rock band. And before they part, the lead singer sings them the first verse, and in the chorus, I said, "Now may your heart feel strong, and while you trek the mountain, before you," and they leave. So things like that. And that second book, the same thing. In the third book, I put another song.
Little Easter eggs in there. That's kind of nice, though, because you don't have to probably deal with a lot of copyright issues if you wanted to use someone else's lyrics like that.
Exactly.
So that's easy.
Yes. In the copyright, I also but that's something. If you have programs at home when you're writing, they do copyright and maybe some type of infringement of some sort. Sometimes research. I'm sorry, I don't know how to shut my phone off. So maybe I'll learn how to do that before I.
No worries.
Okay, let me at least shut it down. All right. Anyways, that's it. That's the. It's kind of like where I just put little eggs in there, and so some people say it's spiritual, but the last reviewer said the books seem spiritual. I go, they're not necessarily spiritual.
And you were saying something about having like 50 people whose names were in your books. Is it like their names specifically, or characteristics where it's like if you're reading the book? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah,
so I'm not going to say any names, but I'll say there's a character that wanted to be in there and in the book, and I just named him. His name is David Johnson in real life. Okay, it's not real. I just made that part up. His name's David Johnson. I will say David Johansson is the archer, something like that. And I'll take some of the traits, like he's got a receding hairline, he's beard full, and he smells like rotten meat everywhere he walks. Whatever the case may be.
So I was going to say, sometimes they might say, hey, put me in your book, and then you start writing about it, and they're like, wait a minute, is that really... Why'd you say, you're like, you told me to put me in your book. You told me to put you in my book. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've only had a couple of those that complain. And here's the thing, I don't really write bad about anything.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I just kind of, out of folly, made that up there. I don't really write anything bad necessarily, but there's a chance you could perish. Because I think the book writes itself.
Sure.
So some people in the author industry, they like to do outlines. Chapter 1 is a prologue, this is an epilogue, we're going to do this. They have it kind of figured out, this is what happens here. Well, I don't do that way. I don't do it that way. I kind of just let it roll. And then, so I write the first 3 or 4 chapters. I'll stop, go back, read the first 3 or 4 chapters, stop, go back. So I've read my books. Each time I write, I read the books probably about 20, 30 times.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, in that small time. So you reread it, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to take that knife out of AJ's hand, and put, this time I'm going to put something else instead. I don't like it. Or sometimes I've come to a point where I have to decide, because this group of people are going to, somebody's got to perish out of them. I can't have 50 people living throughout this whole story.
Our ride-along program is a great opportunity to get to know what it's like to be an officer for a day. By simply filling out an application, you can ride in a patrol car with an officer on duty to see what it's like to serve and protect your community. You cannot, however, ride if you have an active warrant.
The ride-along program is monitored based on COVID-19 cases. Currently, cases have been low enough to reopen this program, and we request that you ride along for a minimum of 2 hours, and rides are not available on Thursdays. But for additional guidelines on submitting a ride-along request, you can visit the Waco Police Department and ask for a ride-along form.
Yeah.
Right.
So someone has to go, so I will roll a dice, say, okay. And then I'll write it in.
Interesting. Okay.
So the story kind of writes itself.
Yeah. So that kind of was my next question was, is it easy writing? Does it kind of just come naturally, or do you have a writer's block?
I haven't had a writer's block yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I got you.
But it is getting difficult because the first book's okay. Cat chase dog, dog chase cat. We find it in a tree. Everybody's happy. Let's go, right? Second book, now I got to figure out why that tree got there, why that tree's there, why the cat go up there. Then third, you know, I'm embellishing a little bit, but really it's all about the first book was okay. Second book, now the problem is I decided to dabble into history.
Oh.
So each character has history. Like there's 2 characters that are police officers here. That one has turned out to has been cursed and is a massive troll creature, and then he's out trying to terrorize everybody. But then he meets the one officer that were allies at one time, and so there's conflict. And then so it became very emotional time writing that little part. And to be quite honest, I don't really know them really, really personally. I just say, hey, you want to be in the book? Yeah, okay. So I don't really know them. So there's nothing guiding that particular viewpoint. But it's each one has a history. So if I want to, I can write a book about that characters and how they came to that. So there's several little branches that are not resolved.
Sure.
Just like little spin-offs of
Little
what
spin-offs.
you've introduced a little teaser of, but now we're going to develop into a whole nother book.
It continues.
That's cool.
It continues to go. There's all just about every character has some type of teaser, spin-off history. But the problem is because I was playing around with it, I had to actually start coming up with the history.
Right.
And
Right.
I have to start coming up with different worlds and different lands. Because it just started with just a little area on a map. Mm-hmm. And then I'm saying, okay, let's put a village there. Okay. Then you're starting to get, third book was a little more difficult. It took me about a year to write that one. But to me, that's the best book because it's really, that's the one that's got the 4
Right, but even a year doesn't even seem very long.
No.
The first 2 was written in about a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so it's not really, the fourth one, in the middle, like I said, middle of audiobooks and writing fourth one, it's hard to, so I'll let it rest for a second, then reread it and say, I'm at like chapter 5 or 6, reread it and say, okay, let's try this maybe, or let's go with this.
Interesting.
So you just keep going, and I do it on my off time. Yes, I do investigate your burglaries if you have them, so don't sweat it. Okay, I do it on my off time, and that's pretty much it. And
Very good. Where does the inspiration come from? Because usually when people are creative, it just kind of comes naturally, right? But is there any sort of inspiration that stems some of the stories?
Yeah, I guess it would be, there's a theme, I guess, with it that would kind of match Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
Okay.
I've had people who read it told me it's like a mix between Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, which, fine, I'll take that as a compliment, and sure, why not? But really, if I had to be honest with you, and this is going to sound really weird. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Always.
It's a mix between Lord of the Rings, Gilligan's Island, Star Trek, and Battlestar Galactica.
I love it all. That's amazing.
If you're able to make a stew of that, that would be it.
Okay.
So it has nothing
This
to do
sounds
with,
awesome. That does
It
not
does.
sound weird one bit. You said Gilligan's Island. I said that's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's what got my attention too. It's like, okay, so there's a humor element.
Yeah, and we got Star Trek.
There's a humor.
I like
there's
it.
small humor, and if you watched Little Gilligan's Island, because as a young kid, when I got out of school, high school or middle school, I'd watch it. You know, like every 4:30
Oh, yeah.
every day. There's always an adventure.
Yeah.
The intent is always good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always some adversarial decisions that had to be made, and ultimately everybody stood for their foundation of where they stand. And when it comes to the skipper has to try to be in charge, and everybody stood everybody had their moral compass, and,
Right.
and very few of them waver. But to make the show come out, you have to waver a little bit, but then it kind of
revert back.
Because let's be real, all of us would have drowned at Gilligan by now if he.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the Gilligan of the group, so I don't really feel comforted by that.
Well,
That scares me.
no, he has a purpose.
Yes.
Maybe that's why they haven't drawn me yet.
Because of his collective bad decisions, he brings the others together.
Yeah.
So it's in the end they get rescued, and
Yeah.
it's him who helps them get rescued.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just have to keep reminding people
I'm
of
still
that.
saying it. 3-4 weeks into the shipwreck, I'm drowning the guy.
Yeah.
One more mistake, buddy, you're done.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
No,
Oh my
but,
goodness.
Yeah. Anyways, it's kind of like that. It's like a hodgepodge of little stuff.
That's great. That's awesome. So now you said you took about a year to write the third one and about a year to write the other two. So it's kind of been very recent since you started pushing these stories out and publishing them.
Mm-hmm.
But has writing always been in the back of your mind?
Just a humanity thing.
Yeah.
Again, if you come up and say, hey, let's write a story together, I'll say, all right, you write the first chapter, send it to me, email, and I'll write the second chapter. If you bring up anything that's humanities based, hey, you guys want to go try to make a sculpture of a phoenix coming out of the ashes, and we'll put it in front of the police department. Well, sure, let's take a look, see how we do that. And I'll research a little bit to figure out how to do that.
Right.
And and of course, listen, I'm going to be quite frank. There's a lot of bumps in the road there when writing, because when you do creative writing, it's difficult. It was a difficult transition at first, it wasn't as easy as me saying it is right now. I had to sit down and say, after I did the first manuscript, I'm like, looked at it, because I actually just paid a company to, hey, could you make this into a book? Because I didn't take it serious. And they made it into a book, but they also published it for me. Like, I wish they didn't have published it, but they did. Regardless, I'm like, okay. So I had to rehash things, kind of figure out what am I doing here now, and then study some more. And then it got to a point now where I have other authors in the across the world that send me stuff to, hey, could you read the 3 chapters and tell me what you think?
Wow.
I said, sure.
That's really cool.
Yeah, sure. And I'll be honest with them. Like, I had a lady, I say one lady in particular, but she's writing a murder mystery novel. She's been writing it for 15 years.
Oh my gosh.
And she's in she's like chapter 8. So she sends me, they found out I'm a law enforcement somehow. I don't know how, but she goes, I know you're a police. Could you look over my stuff, tell me how accurate it is? I'm like, all right.
Like, well, if you want to get really accurate, I guess.
No, I don't want to be really accurate. Hey,
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of typing, a lot of paper shuffling.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
No, so I get those all the time. And now, publisher wants me. I have a meeting in India that I have to attend to.
Dang.
It's with some publishers and some people in the media world of filming.
That's cool.
So I'm.
You're like, nah, it's whatever.
No, it's not that.
Did I catch correctly that it was supposed to just, you want it printed for your grandkids, and then it got published, and has that basically like an inadvertent publishing turned it into a thing for you now?
No, that's my mistake of not understanding the publication world.
Mm.
So if I had any advice for anybody who writes books, don't automatically. My whole intent was to pay to get the book made.
Yeah,
and they come up with stuff. Yeah, we'll publish it, or they said we'll publish it, and then that they would we'll put it up there on let's say Amazon. I said, all right, fine. You know, I don't care, right? You know, I'm not trying to sell books, you know, but once they published it, and I realized overwriting book 2 that man, book 1 like, oh my god, train wreck. So let me I had to go back and rewrite book 1 to a point where it's fixed, to where I liked it at least, to a point where it's I can consume it with a little bit of sleep at night, and then there you go. I did that, and all said and done, and there you go.
Well, very nice. So now on the reverse side of that, because it was, like you said, it was hard to go from law enforcement writing to maybe creative writing. Now, are your reports a little bit more exciting or
a little more creative?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you get any comments from your sergeant about you write a lot, or do you know how to turn it off?
No, I keep creative words out of writing.
Yeah.
Just keep it matter of fact, just the facts, ma'am. You know, drag it there.
that's good. You can have that separation, because yesterday I was going flying and I called to get a briefing, and I started using the police alphabet because I've been working here more than I've been flying lately, and I said Lincoln. You know what that means? And the lady was like, sorry, sir, what did you say? And I was like, Lincoln, like L, Lincoln? And I was like, crap.
Yeah.
That's the wrong phonetic alphabet.
Oh, man.
So kudos to you being able to turn that on and off.
Well, I mean, report writing, it is what it is. And if you just don't bloviate and embellish, you're good. Just state what you understand and learn, and evidence is important. You know,
sure is.
That's where it all stems from. And if you can report it as such, then no. So it's not difficult. Not now. It was difficult going into creative writing, but not.
The Waco Police Department Crime-Free Housing Program is designed to build a partnership between police and owners or managers of rental properties to keep drugs and other illegal activity off property.
This program calls on management to make steps toward providing a clean and safe living environment for the citizens of Waco by asking them to spend a little time and a little money to benefit their residents. This will also benefit the property managers as well.
For more information on the Crime-Free Housing Program, visit the Waco Police Department website at wacopolice.com.
Just professional writing.
Hey, it's not difficult anymore. You're working on your 4th book.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And already talking about future plans.
Exactly.
So.
Do you have any plans to stop the series, start a new series?
The 4th book is the end.
4th book's the end. Okay.
I've already got a climatic ending and everything's set.
All right.
I just got to feel the little histories inside. But yeah, it's the ending's here. It's
Very
coming.
Good. Okay.
And then I'll go into the murder mystery, which will have a little bit of a spirituality involved in it, some sci-fi. Interesting.
Maybe Skipper and Gilligan. We don't know.
No. Skipper, no. Skipper and Gilligan would be. Yeah, exactly.
Different ways that Gilligan got murdered, but then almost like a Groundhog Day. He's back again to cause trouble tomorrow.
Well, kind of, and I don't want to really elaborate on it, but it's going to be something where a spiritual being will come down and cause chaos among the evil at heart. And it'll be these 2 detectives trying to figure out why the evil at heart are perishing. So the investigation continues, the forensics, blah, blah, blah. Everything goes to full belt, and they can't figure out how, this is happening. And they come to find out in the end when they catch up with the person, and the person basically produces angel wings or something like that. Oh, I haven't figured that out. Sure. And then that person will then disappear.
Dang.
Okay.
Sounds intriguing. I like it.
Yeah, well,
I like it.
The epilogue will be even better is when then we'll fast forward somewhere and Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he's sitting there at a truck stop. And the lady said, "Yeah, you want some more coffee?" And he'll say, "Yes, of course." So he's there to clean up Albuquerque.
Oh, jeez.
Next city. Okay.
Something weird like that.
Yeah, I like
Okay,
it.
that's not set in stone. So hey, that's copyrighted right there in 2022 Paul Hager.
There you go, exactly.
I'm just
Sorry about
kidding.
it. Well, before we wrap
All
it
right.
up, I always like to ask this question. Stereotypes. You know, people all have their stereotypes about law enforcement, police officers. What's something that you'd like to debunk for the community? Or change their perspective on something?
Okay, well, how about something, one serious and one not so serious? How's that? Is that
Sure,
okay?
I like it.
Okay. Not so serious. Okay. The reason why donuts, the stereotype of donuts in the police is because way back when everything closed at 6 p.m., at midnight shift, the officer would be found at the bakery because that's the only place open at 4 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to find a police officer, you'll find him at a donut shop or the
There you
bakery.
go.
Okay. There we go. Got that out of the way.
Yes.
Okay. This
Tasty morsel of information.
okay. Now the
It makes sense now.
yeah. So I think the biggest one that I that makes me the biggest one I think I don't really particularly care for. I mean, I don't get upset about it, but it's police officers don't wake up every morning and say, "Hey, man, who can I screw with?" They usually get up in the morning and say, "Where's my coffee?" And okay, what beat do I have? Or where am I going?
Sure.
What are we having problems at? So there's no secret nefarious star chamber full of police officers figuring out how they can cause ill will upon people. So if there is, someone should write about it and maybe report it to the FBI because I don't know anything about it. So ultimately, I think most officers are just regular people, good people that just want to do their service, do what they can to help whomever they can help. Nobody wakes up with nefarious behavior and wanting to cause carnage to anybody.
That's right. We're just writing books and making music.
That's part of it, but yes.
And eating donuts.
Well, I don't eat donuts, but
Oh, see, look at that.
See.
Not everyone eats
okay.
donuts.
Well,
AJ.
if my granddaughter says 5 years old, she tells me, "Papa, let's go get some donuts." I say, "All right, let's go." So she tells me, "All right," but I don't really eat them like all the time. But
Right.
those are probably the
Yeah.
stereotypes that I don't particularly.
Right. It's not necessarily, like you said, how can we ruin someone's day, but how can we help someone? How can we bring justice to this person?
An officer is showing up to duty because either A, he has a commitment to obviously the mission that the department has, and the mission statement is there. It's there for everybody to see. They want to do goodwill towards people, and the taxpayers are paying for you to help with the protect property and the criminal acts against another person, and they do that. It's a tough job, but it's a rewarding job, and you'll feel the reward and the accolades behind it, but just by doing having a righteous approach to policing. And the best thing about policing is like the military is there's accountability. Most people don't think there's accountability. There is accountability amongst your peers. It isn't beyond one police officer to say, hey, okay, we can't go that route. So
Right.
there's an internal accountability. There's also the professional accountability through IA. So there's a lot of accountability. In the military, the same way. We kept each other accountable for our behaviors. And if something was to ever get to the point where it's getting crazy, someone steps in and stops it. So it's like that.
Very good.
That's the real life, not fake.
I like it. Well, Detective Hacker, thank you so much for joining us here on Waco PD on the Beat. If you don't got anything else, I think we can wrap it up here, yeah?
No, I appreciate it. I don't want to give a pitch to the books, but they're out there.
There you go. The Gathering. The Gathering.
The Gathering. There we go. The Gathering. All right. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys.
thank you.
I'm Sierra Shipley, the Public Information Officer.
I'm Officer AJ Smith, the Crime Stoppers Coordinator for McLennan County.
Have a good one, Waco.
Until next time.
Waco PD on the beat. The heartbeat serving